Welcome everyone to our another coMra webinar, and this one is on sports, fitness and training and coMra. So obviously we're going to have a coMra slant on this. And today we have a special guest, Alexander Hevia. Alexander has been working with coMra therapy since its inception, and especially in the context of sports and fitness and bringing that holistic picture into that. So he's going to share with us today his experience and bringing coMra into sports, the area of sports. And also, there's a new user guide we're making for sports and fitness, and Alexander is going to walk through some of the basic treatments in there to give you, let's say, context for your own explorations, whether that's in your clinic with athletes or people who are trying to do different things, or in your own life. And Alexander's, been a high-level athlete for a long time in the area of track and field and other sports too, but especially track and field. So a lot of the experience he shares will be a slant from that. Alexander, would you care to introduce yourself? And yeah, we'll get going.
Yes. Thank you so much, Garrett. And thank you for having me. And thank you to everybody here taking part in this webinar, either now or into the future. Like Garrett shared, I've played sports from a very young age, and I've had many experiences there. And in this webinar, I want to give a practical approach to how I utilize coMra and the various approaches that I have taken through sports, especially with coMra therapy. But first, I just want to share, in case anybody notices that I'm bouncing around, I have a Swiss ball that I'm seated on, and little things people can do in life to stay active and healthy. And if you happen to be sitting at a desk for long periods of time, a Swiss ball isn't a bad choice, and neither is a standing desk. These are little things we can do in life to help improve ourselves. And this is part of what I want to share. I'm a very practical person. When I encountered coMra therapy, I got the device, the Delta laser at the time, and I decided for myself, let's see how it works. And the best way for me to see how it works was through the sporting arena, through the various things that I could put my body through. So, like Garrett shared, I've started with sports from a very young age. Believe it or not, being from Miami, Florida, I started with figure skating. I wanted speed skating, but I wasn't old enough. So I started with figure skating. From there on, I went to swimming, and it was baseball. In baseball, 1 year or 2 years, I ended up on a travel team of a higher age group because I was a very precocious youth in terms of fitness and sport. From baseball, I went to football. I remember in '94, I saw the Olympics, was like, oh yeah, I want to go play soccer now, which is what we call, in the globe, they call it football. Here we call it soccer. And I went, tried out, made it on a travel team purely based upon my speed. And in between all of that, I was running track and field. I started when I was 10 years old. Like most, considering that track and field was the one that I was putting most of my focus on, I had the desire of Olympic glory. I wanted to be the best athlete that I could be, and I pursued it. I was nationally ranked coming up the age group divisions in the 400 meter, went to national championships at the age of 14. At 15, I was a sophomore in high school, achieved what I considered the pinnacle at the time. I didn't win state championships, but as a sophomore, I went along with the varsity team, went to state championships, had a great showing there. Didn't medal, but for a sophomore, I was already ahead of the game. And around that time that year, I kind of lost heart. I love sport. I love to engage with the physical aspects of life, but there was something missing. And what I noticed with most of the athletes that I would look up to and I respected, they would have a period in life where they would be amazing. They would do amazing things. You would look at them like, wow, like especially as a youth and adolescent, I would be like, these people can do so much. I want to be just like them. However, what I noticed is when they retired, those abilities decreased. They didn't have the same physical fitness wherewithal that they had during their, let's say, quote unquote, glory years. So I brought this up to my father because, at the time, I consulted with him about these matters, and I said, what do you say about this individual, and why is he unable to do these things that he was able to do when he was younger, and now that he is retired, he is falling off, like physically, because it didn't resonate with me. And he said, don't worry about that. You'll have plenty of money, you'll get the best doctors, and they'll take care of you thereafter, even though you might not be what you used to be. You'll be half of what you were. And did not resonate with me at all. So in my sophomore year, I decided to, after reaching state championships, my junior year, I took off training in sports. And in my senior year, I considered getting back into it to, you know, get a scholarship, because I was already considered with different universities at the age of, at 15 as a sophomore. But the way life works is it put me into a place where it didn't happen. I went to 3 different high schools, didn't make it on a track team that year because of life considerations. And I was like, that's fine. I'll go to university, focus on academics, because being a youth in sports, I was more of the on the jock end of things. So academics was just so I can play sports. It wasn't a focus. So I said in university, I'll focus on academics and leave it at that, maybe walk onto the track team. Ended up playing rugby, and that was fun. That was a great experience. Another one added to the books. You could say I played almost all sports but hockey, because there's not much hockey here in Miami. So at university, I was, you know, I was an Asian studies major. Chinese philosophy was my focus. I had heard of Tai Chi. I have heard of the approach, and I liked the idea, because even though I was only 21 years of age at that time, I felt already a lifetime of sport. So I could, what I saw at 15, I started experience at 21, and even though I pulled back a little bit from sports. So it just so happens that, you know the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I encountered an authentic lineage of Chen family Tai Chi Chuan. At that moment, I noticed this 6-year-old gentleman doing things that normally are reserved for only those under 10 years old. We're talking about in terms of pliability and flexibility. That was it. I knew exactly what I want to do. I put the two together, the sustainability aspect and sport, and I was like, that's it. I'm going to now get back into track and field and pursue a life there, so that people could learn how to approach their life in a sustainable fashion through sports. So I thought the best way to do that would be in a world stage as a track and field athlete. So at that time, I did what it took. I put on 40-pound weight vests. I ran with running parachutes. I did this on the deep sand of Miami Beach against the wind with resistance. I pushed my body to the depths of despair and to the point of no return. I developed a foot injury. So obviously, understanding Tai Chi, understanding the movements and how to adjust yourself biomechanically, I was still young and I didn't really understand sustainability just yet. And I'm gonna go through that here in this webinar so I can practically explain the ways people can adjust and the ways people can approach sustainability through their life, as well as utilizing coMra therapy. Now, I did have this foot injury. I was around 23, 24 at the time. My marks were great. I was coming around very well. I was a 22, 23 second on the fly 200-meter runner, so I figured that would work very well for the 800-meter. You extrapolate that, put those 4 together, and it works very well. But when you can't train consecutively and your foot is hurting really bad, it takes you about 30 minutes to warm up. Yeah, my intent was strong, but after the warm up, after the efforts, I would be pretty much done. I would feel like I couldn't walk. And you can imagine the next day, even if I warmed up, which I did. Trust me, at first I dug myself real deep, to the point where there was no way I could train consecutively. So that kind of pushed that desire I had of reaching national championships as a professional athlete, world championships, even Olympics. I had to put that to the side, because if you can't train consecutively in track and field, you can't reach the kind of fitness levels that you need to compete at those levels. So I put that to the side. I still, engaged in fitness, and obviously I continued doing my Tai Chi until today. And at the time I was still doing it daily. So I had improvement and I could run. I just would have to take 2-3 days off. It took me many years of just recollecting myself. So around 29 years old, I became aware of the concept of coMra therapy and saw so much in it and wanted to take part in its production, as well as seeing how it would work on me. So being a very practical being, the first thing I did was utilize it on my foot. One of the first things was utilize it on my foot. And within a few courses, the foot injury resolved. I could train consecutively and I could push again. So I'm here about early 30s. So the idea came again. I'm still, I don't have the advantages of a 20-year-old or, you would say the advantages of youth, but I was still young enough to consider pursuing, again, high levels of track and field, getting on the professional circuit, as well as desiring to get into the Olympics, because I could see what the marks were made, what the marks were needed for the 800 meter, and I knew I had what it took. But still, the sustainability aspect was not there. And considering I had coMra, now Tai Chi and then coMra, I was like, let me take liberties. I took as many liberties as I could. I wouldn't recommend anyone taking this. And through this webinar, I might share why you shouldn't. I know some athletes still may, but I would love to encourage them to listen to their body better than I did and not encounter the same pitfalls that I had to climb out of. So now that I had coMra therapy and I was pursuing things in terms of professional athletics, with these liberties, I started to feel certain issues in my body, and I would treat them, take care of them. But with coMra, I started to push myself even deeper and deeper into, you would call it the fitness fray. And that came to a point where I still dug myself real deep. And one in particular was a hip injury. It took me about a year to get out of it. But the important point here is that I did get out of it. And even though my journey took like a winding way, I am now at 39 years old and in the best shape of my life. I did not achieve the goals that I had in mind, but I feel like the journey that I have taken and the journey that I continue to take is amazing and it's wonderful. And here I am able to offer this to those who may be in a position to utilize coMra therapy from a professional standpoint, but I also want to include those who are either a lay person who wants to take up a fitness routine, which I would highly recommend, as well as the amateur athlete. So I want to bring all of this together, make it as concise and brief as possible, but also very practical. And we're going to go through these various treatments, and I'm going to share how I would apply them, and in the variations that they can be applied based upon the individual, because here, once this is applied by the individual, they will learn to understand how their body works. They will learn to understand the signals their bodies give them, either they be pain signals, time to rest signals. They would understand how to use coMra therapy to the highest degree, and they'll also understand how to adjust their programs thereof. And what I'm referring to in terms of programs are the fitness programs, the sporting programs, what it is that they're doing to achieve whatever it is that they have desired. So this is something I want to be able to share with everybody. And I want to make one important point at the onset. Most people don't understand that as you age, you can maintain the majority of your fitness. Like, there is no reason why we can't pursue high levels of fitness and health to the days of our end on this lovely planet Earth. So I want to be able to share that with everyone, and I want that to be kept behind and as an undertone, because this is something very important, and especially in North America, the elderly are the underserved community, and they can be fit. And with coMra in a proper strength and conditioning routine, this can be done in a very sustainable fashion. So Garrett, please, next slide. I'm going to be very straightforward with this. And I'd also like to add, if anybody wants to chime in and tie in a science concept, it would be very beneficial if you see the need to. I'm very practical in this respect. So if there's a way to tie it into a science concept, that would be welcome. So just how does the body get stronger, more agile? Well, obviously, getting stronger is a very straightforward concept, right? You push past your normal, your baseline, the body breaks down from the stimulus. Generally speaking, let's just use like a bicep curl as an example. So you take, you couldn't do 25 pounds, but you could do 20. So you take the 25 pounds, do it to a certain amount of reps, let's say 8 to 12 repetitions, and you would reach a point of concentric failure. You would try to work past that concentric failure, and you would create the stimulus for your body to build up stronger. Important point though, is that you need time to regenerate. You need time to recover and then overcompensate. So what does that mean? Recover is 100%. Your body goes right back to where it was. Overcompensate is that extra time that your body goes to 110%. And that being said is that now that you're stronger, now you couldn't do the 25 pounds, you do that the next time, and you keep pushing that limit to your quote unquote genetic potential. And I say quote unquote because there's a little bit of lemon juice you can squeeze out each and every time as you get closer to that genetic potential. So this is how the body gets stronger. Now, the awesome thing here is that with coMra therapy, the time to recover and overcompensate is shortened. So you can already see the writing on the wall when it comes to the various athletes that are interested in pursuing high levels of fitness, or just the layperson who wants to get into a fitness routine, doesn't understand what the body needs to feel like through a fitness routine, and can recover thereof much quicker in a much more sustainable fashion. So we're going to go through a practical explanation of this through the next slide. Thank you, Garrett. So I'm going to liken this in terms of that you've been training already, because it's easier to notice the benefits from this. So for example, you're into a program, you have microcycles and macrocycles. So you're into a microcycle. So let's say you take a month, you have 3 weeks of training, you get harder. So the volume decreases. Let's say we're using track and field as an example. The volume is going to decrease as the intensity decreases. And then your 4th week, you take a recovery week. So let's say this is the beginning of the 3rd week. All right. We're just going to use this as an example. You haven't used coMra therapy the 2 prior weeks. And come Monday, you've been training, you train Monday through Saturday. On Sunday, you have a recovery day. What's called an active recovery day, meaning you're just walking around, staying active, getting the blood flow, but you're not just laying down all day, nor are you doing anything extremely active. Come Monday, if you're in a proper training program, you're going to feel it. You're going to wake up Monday and you're going to feel this is your last week. The volume's decreased, the intensity's high. You are going to feel what I would call the downtroddenness of training. You're going to feel broken down. You're going to feel worn down. You're going to feel your energies at a lower level. So doing a treatment like this, the preparation treatment, you're going to have the ability, let's say you wake up in the morning, before your coffee, with your coffee, whichever, you wake up in the morning and you apply this treatment, you're going to feel an instant recognition of a higher energetic state. And this is why I love sport and in terms of coMra therapy, because it is an immediate recognition of how it makes you feel, especially when you understand and listen to your body. So here you are, you get up in the morning, you do the treatment, you feel amazing, you have efforts later on. I'm gonna liken most of this to track and field because that's where the majority of my experience comes from, but you can use this in anything. You can use this in American football practice, football, which we call soccer here. You can utilize it in rugby. You can utilize it as a dancer, because I know dancers do a lot of, they have to be graceful, but also very physically fit. You can utilize it as a hiker. Let's say you're on the coMra Palm, especially, it's a very small device. And here you are carrying it in your backpack, your hiking pack, and you've had multiple days of hiking, and one day you wake up and you're like, oh man, my legs are not feeling like they want to hike anymore. You can apply a treatment like this and it literally gasses you up in a way where now you feel more capable to handle the demands of what you're going to put your body through in that day. And that's really a beautiful thing once experienced. So now you're feeling less downtrodden and you go and handle your day's efforts with a lot more energy and a lot more quality of function and form, which ties into the next concept of functional reserve. Garrett, please. Thank you. All right. So if you've taken part in some of these previous webinars, you'll understand functional reserve through a different standpoint, but it's the same concept. For me, once again, it's very, very, very practical. So when you're low in energy in sport, you feel it, you know it immediately, and you can make adjustments of that depending upon your training program. But it's very straightforward when you look at it. More work, more energy, excuse me, equals more work. So it's that simple. And through sport, you can feel this at a very, very personal level, or any fitness routine that you're applying yourself into. So I would like to also state, and I feel this is very important to me, because as I shared previously, I went into coMra therapy with the idea to take as many liberties as I could, and I did, and I dug many, many holes, and I had to crawl myself out of a lot of these holes. That one in particular was my hip injury. It took me about a year to crawl out of it. At first, it was, okay, this is it. My hip is, excuse my expression here, is trashed, and I don't have a way forward here, and I can't enjoy my life the way I've learned to enjoy it through my physical fitness wherewithal. So I just was like, okay, but I didn't stop treating my hip, and I kept applying different adjustments to my training program, where I went a little slower. I made sure at the gym I was more focused on balancing muscle groups. And lo and behold, a year later, I don't have any issues with my hip. And now I can apply myself through track and field at a still very high level. Whereas 2 years ago, I decided to get back into certain races at collegiate events. And when I let my beard grow out, I get a little gray here. So I'd run with the collegiate athletes that come in first or second in the heats. And all these young kids were like, oh, this grandpa over here running with us. So it was something that I was able to get back to, whereas before I did not have that. Before I had that hip injury, I was concerned, but I was able to walk back out of it. So learning to adjust your training program with coMra therapy involved, learning to listen to your body all throughout, really combines a situation where no matter what it is, really, you can crawl yourself out of it. Now, hopefully, you don't push yourself to that level. I truly hope that whoever, as a professional athlete in the pursuit of professional contract, or the pursuit of professional event, or youth athlete desiring a professional contract of some sort, they take this and they understand that you don't have to reach those levels if you learn the adjustment before those pain signals take you into an area of an injury where you have to take weeks off or months off. And nobody wants to do that during a training season. So that being said, so it's pretty straightforward. More energy, more work, right? More energy, more work, the better your function is, hence the better your form is. The better your form is, very straightforward in track and field. The more linear you are, the better your form is, the less wasted energy is, and as well as the less susceptible you are to injury. Because if you have an issue in one area or another, you could overcompensate on one side and thus put more stress on. I know a lot of athletes who have a knee injury on one leg and they continue running, and now they got a knee injury on the other leg because all they were doing is they were breaking down their form. Whereas if they adjusted the knee injury in the first place and they provided the body with the energy that it needed so that it could build up strong and continue through their training program, they wouldn't have created and manifested the injury in the other knee. So it's very important that we learn to listen to our body. I grew up with the Rocky Balboa way, which was bang, 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 and you're gonna achieve what you needed to as long as you put in the work, no matter what. It's great on film, it makes for a great movie, but in reality, it is not a proper practice, and I can attest for that. And only a few amount of athletes can handle that kind of training. Some can, but they're a very small percentage of them. The majority of us need to really pay attention to our bodies and learn to adjust when the adjustment is called for. So being able to listen to your body will prevent you from digging those holes. Thus, you'll have a more sustainable approach to your fitness routine. Next slide, Garrett. All right, so, oh man, this is awesome. This slide and the next slide this is the kind of stuff that we're dealing with here. And I mean that. One of the reasons why I kind of now focus more on working with the elderly population, because they are very underserved and they could utilize the fitness routine that is very sustainable and that being the case, they appreciate all that is given to them and how their body feels thereafter. But most athletes, sportsmen and women, they are along this line. You know, just tell it to me straight, doc, can I still run this weekend? Not concerned at all with the fact that they just destroyed their body. More concerned with the fact that they're not going to be able to run. And there's a little bit of, there's something to note there, right? We are stubborn, and this is not a sustainable approach. However, there may be times, and this is where I want to link coMra therapy into this. There may be times where you are going to push, an athlete's going to push, especially if they have a goal in mind, past a certain level of where their health is going to decrease. It's just going to happen. They're going to have to sacrifice a little bit of their health to reach that fitness goal. Now, the beautiful thing here is, even if that needs to be done, which there's going to be an occasion for that, because you know, athletes, they walk on a razor's edge between the highest performance they can have and injury. So knowing that, to be able to provide it with the energetic quality, the stimulus that coMra therapy can provide at that time can make them walk that razor's edge closer to the level of the greatest performance of their life, as well as even if afterwards, let's say they had the greatest performance of their life, afterwards they know their health decreased a little bit. This was the pinnacle of their season, whatever it was, whatever major competition they had focused on. At the end of the season, they know that they decreased their health a little bit, but now we're working through a new framework of health fitness. And now they have coMra therapy. So after the season, they take time for themselves to build up their health reserves, to build up the energetic reserves so that they have that ready before the next season begins, and they get rid of any tweaks that they have incurred through that demanding training. So that's something very interesting to take into account. So Garrett, next slide, because this one ties into that. Thank you. So it's the same thing. And I have done this from a personal standpoint. So here it is, you're getting mad that you can't run rather than that you damage your body. This is not a sustainable way to sport. This is not something that is going to last a lifetime. This is something that you could do for a short amount of period, maybe in your youth, maybe in your 30s, but by the time you hit 40, 50, 60, you're gonna have that, you're gonna have that saying where this is my bad knee, or this is my bad hamstring, or whatever the case may be. There are various things people say, this is my bad, this is my bad, but that does not have to be the case. If you make the proper adjustments, you work with biomechanics, and you start to understand that there are different strength and conditioning routines that can be applied to help biomechanically put the body in good form, as well as create the musculature to contain the joint complexes. All of this can be done. And when you have something like coMra therapy as an underlining therapeutic modality to help support all of that, then really it's not even the sky that's the limit, it's the belief in yourself. So let's take a look at the next treatment we have going on here, recovery. All right, so once again, I wanna take this through a practical standpoint. For me, this is a treatment I have done on a regular basis. I am taking part in sharing what I used during my training seasons, and I'm not in a training season right now because of the global situation, everything, all seasons were shut down. But I am in during my training seasons, this was a treatment that I would do on a regular basis. It's called recovery for its after session potential, but it also could be used in between sessions. I use the leg points primarily in between sessions, as well as the lower back scan. And obviously I treated my kidneys on a regular basis, and the various points here. And I'd like to state, and I'd like to share that this sports user guide, as well as the user guide of the Delta Laser and the coMra Palm, is something there to help you begin to understand how your body works. You as an individual has to take the opportunity to learn how your body works. So through sports, it's very straightforward to learn how your body works. So that being said, you can use these treatments to adjust and to apply as needed. If your workload is heavy, then you add a minute. If you're training 2 to 3 times a day, you would do that in between each training session. For example, I would do my speed efforts in the morning, right? On the track, I would do this treatment, the recovery treatment. More or less a variation of it, but my main points were the leg points and the lower back scan, as well as the kidneys and the adrenal glands, right? And I did the preparation in the morning to prepare for that first effort of the day, because I want to be optimal, and I always want to stay optimum because my body will function better that way. So I would do this after the morning, after my first session of training. And then some days I had a long run and then gym. So I would do the long run, I would do this recovery treatment again, and then I would hit the gym. So you got to understand, after the sessions, you know, at the time I was doing this, I was in my 30s. Maybe a 20-year-old would have a better advantage in terms of the recovery capacity. But I was in my 30s learning through this, learning through coMra therapy and how to pursue sport and how to take the liberties that I was taking. And I would apply this after my long run. Let's say it was a 3-session day. It was my speed efforts in the morning. I would do the recovery treatment. It would be now I'd do a long run, let's say 30 minutes, 45 minutes. You know, I was a middle distance runner at the time. And then at night, I would do, after that long run, I would do this again. And then at night, I would go to the gym. So you can imagine the kind of demand I put on my body. Having the ability to pick myself back up, to feel reinvigorated so that I can go to and do the long run with more of a lightness in my step. And then after that, to do the treatment again and to go to the gym to feel that energetic boost, so that when I go to the gym and I would do my lifting routines, I would feel more capable, not only in the physical aspect, but also in the mental. Like I felt a lighter approach to it, where I wouldn't be so beat down. Oh, I gotta go to the gym, this is gonna be rough, you know? No, I felt good. I felt like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm gonna go balance out the imbalanced muscle groups, and I'm going to do the things I need to do to achieve the goals I had in mind. And I just want to add as a side note, because so fitness and sports, there's various aspects to this. Most sporting professionals understand this. Some in the fitness industry really don't fully understand this, but when you do a strength and conditioning routine at a gymnasium, at a fitness facility, you want to focus on rebalancing imbalanced muscle groups, because you got to understand, no matter what the sport is, there are dynamic movements involved that are called upon the person to do at a moment's notice. So sometimes you put your body out of a natural range of motion, and thus you create an imbalance. And over time, that imbalance would lead to not only give you a situation where you're more susceptible to injury, but if you continue to not adjust, then you will incur an injury. So going to the gym is very important. And this is why, if you're an individual who wants to run a marathon, or you're an ultra runner, or you're a dancer even, dancers need to do strength and conditioning routine. No matter what it is, whatever you do your sport, you want to also apply the strength and conditioning routine. There are ways forward with that. And if anybody wants to ask me questions after the webinar, I'd be happy to explain some of the better approaches to lifting routines that can have a complete focus on balancing out those imbalanced muscle groups. So knowing that you need this extra training, and if you're at a level where you're going to train twice a day, then I would recommend to do this before you hit the gym, so that you reinvigorate yourself, you bring up your functional reserves, so you apply yourself with a higher quality output in the gym as you're training. So now, not everybody's going to do that, right? Some people are only going to train once a day. Some people are just amateurs. Other people just getting into it, which I would recommend you start slowly, you build slowly. But if you are somebody who's just training once a day or every other day, so you give the preparation treatment in the morning. And then before you go to sleep, I would recommend a treatment such as this, the recovery treatment, because sleep is where all the healing is going to occur. It's where all the systems are going to come back into a more normalized state so that the next morning you wake up better off for it. And I would still the next morning, depending upon what you have planned, do the preparation treatment. But if you don't have time and you feel great, then that's something you have to learn to listen to. This, once again, this is your opportunity to learn to listen to your body. And in sport, or even in a fitness routine, you get firsthand experience in this. So Garrett, next slide, please. Okay. So heavy stress and burnout. Being a Floridian, a South Florida native, specifically in Miami, then we don't have indoor tracks here. So we do a lot of outdoor training sessions. It's very, very, very hot here. So this is a treatment that I would personally do when I would have that head pressure, the kind of, I wouldn't call it a headache, but the kind of like burned out, which is a great term for this, beat down. The sun has been, you know, shining on you very heavily. We have a heat index up here of like 103, and you did your efforts, but now you're feeling a little bit burned out and stressed out. So I would apply the head points here just off the bat, just to help reduce that sensation, as well as, and my wife can attest to this. Normally, when you push your body to high level, your cortisol levels are high, and you're a bit snappy. You're stressed out, and that's not a good way to approach your day, especially if you train in the morning and you wanted to go and you have a full-time job, and your boss comes to you and asks you a question, and you're like, hey, you know, you snap at him because your stress levels are very high, and you're real quick to snap out at somebody. And so a treatment like this, it's very short, 13 minutes, will help reduce that. And so you're not put in a position where you are snapping at people left and right. So I would recommend this treatment to be done ad hoc, as needed. But I'd also like to mention that, considering that when you have a competition ahead of you and you're feeling a little bit concerned and you're thinking, oh man, I gotta run that 5K tomorrow, especially if you're not just there to jog it, you're there to win it. You know the pain you're gonna incur. You know what's gonna happen. So that night before, you're thinking like, oh man, like this is gonna hurt. You know, I'm kind of nervous. This is another great treatment to do the night prior, so that you can, you know, so that you can get into that state of relaxation and have a great night's sleep. And you wake up in the morning and you do what you've been training to do. So next slide, Garrett, please. All right, so this is one I really love. This is one that I normally do ad hoc now when needed, but this is one that is very short, it's very direct, and it's very obvious in terms of its upliftment. So if you have a partner, do the back scan, because the way it covers you and the way you feel like a breath of fresh air just gets blown in from behind you, especially if you're feeling down and out, especially if your body is broken down from a heavy training efforts, or you know, through maybe multiple days of efforts. This is a very direct treatment that you can experience practically to feel that you just feel like you're more open, you're more engaged with your body. And so much so that I have done this treatment and felt like, wow, that and the leg points, wow, I can go and train again. Now, mind you, you should not. You know, there are other requirements in terms of regeneration, and they take longer. You wouldn't want to go and train again. So being able to apply this treatment ad hoc and to get that experience would be an amazing, would be amazing for you to build your body up in that way, where you're not feeling broken down. Now the back points are just as good, and what I like most about the back points are especially with the coMra palm. The delta would be a little bit more difficult. You might need help, not so much with the cervical section or the lower back, but the middle portion of the back. But with the coMra palm, you can just place it, find a backrest, and just lay up against it for a little bit. And all these treatments, as I shared before, could be adjusted based on your workload. If you don't have a partner to do the back scan, do the points. And if your workload is heavy, do 2 minutes. And then if you want, add a couple points below the neck and above the lower back so that you make the adjustments as you need it. Mind you, this is something each of us have the opportunity to learn about our bodies through, and something that each of us can apply daily or as needed. So we're gonna go over the next one. And this one here, there are many adaptive responses to the body through training. I'm just gonna go over micro tears here. And specifically in the focus of your average gym goer and even your bodybuilder. But I would also like to mention this would work great for athletes through a training cycle, or as well as like pre-competition. So if you have a heavy training cycle, add this as well. If you have a pre-competition, I would do that the week prior. But for your average gym goer, somebody who wants to go to the gym just to get aesthetic benefits, and also to feel better, to feel healthier, this would help them through the process. And especially your layperson, if somebody who isn't used to the kind of experience that you have from going to the gym, they're going to feel sore. And soreness, especially when the gym approach is sustainable, is a good thing. It shows that you stimulate your body in a good way. We're not talking about like the pain signal and say, oh, you know, I got to stop right now. We're talking about that good soreness. But if you're a layperson and you're just starting a fitness routine, this is a program for you that will help you move past that and quicker. Now for the bodybuilders, the more professional version of the aesthetic athletes and those who want to get their pro card, this would be a great way to take your fitness to a higher level and not have to sacrifice your health at the same time, because I don't know how many people are watching this now or in the future understand what these athletes go through, or athletes in general, but all the support one can get is welcomed, because we don't want to sacrifice our health for sport. And we want to maintain a sustainable outlook on this, because it's great to be super, super fit during your glory years. And that's an amazing, youth has many advantages, but we want to maintain that fitness all throughout our life until our very last days. And this can be done, but it has to be done with a proper mindset. It has to be done with learning to listen to our body. And it has to be done with learning how to support the body so it can build up stronger from the demand that we put on it. So we have choices in life. We can choose to grow or become stagnant. And those messages we can send to our body. And that choice those choices are made daily. This is why I use the Swiss ball, because I stay active. My core stays active. This is why sometimes I like the standing desk, because I'm engaged all the while and I stay active. So this treatment would be a lovely and I share this again because my focus now is a lot on the elderly population, because they are underserved. If they wanted to get into a fitness routine, this treatment would be tremendous for them to learn so as they learn the right fitness routine, as they learn the right lifting protocols, they can also supply themselves with the support so that they regenerate quicker, because the only reason most of our elderly population is not in a position of physical fitness wherewithal, as I'll call it, is because they've let themselves go for a long time. And I understand a lot has to do with the fitness industry not knowing how to address those things, but those things can be addressed. And when you apply treatment like this, then they're addressed much quicker. So you go from, you've atrophied, let's say a decade or two, now you brought yourself back up to a very high level of fitness, and no matter what age, with such support. So I wanted to add that as well. Okay, so yeah. And let's see, last one. So closing message, right? Okay, so everybody is different. each of us have the opportunity to learn about our body. It is something we can do. All we have to do is pay attention. The body's going to break down, and in some respects, that's a healthy thing. You want the body to break down so that you give it the time and space to build up stronger than before. Okay? Let's say you reach a situation, and here I'm speaking to the athletes, those who I know, even though we went through the stubbornness side of things, even though we went through the side where, yes, I know I just injured my body, but I still want to get back to my sport. It's more about the sport than I actually just destroyed my body. I know this is going to happen. And I want to encourage you to try to stem it before it happens to any degree that it takes you a few weeks or months, in my hip case, a year. But it may very well still happen to some of you. But what I want to share is that you will, with coMra therapy support, learn how to crawl out no matter how deep the hole is. And each and every time you crawl out, you're going to find so much more belief in yourself that you're going to be able to apply your fitness to a higher degree, to a higher level. And this is what I have done. I'm 39 years old, and I am in the best shape of my life. I can do things that I couldn't do years ago, but now I don't even sacrifice my health anymore because I know how to make that adjustment very quickly. And the reason I can do that, the reason I can approach my fitness at such a high level while still maintaining my health is because I've found that belief through each time falling in a hole, climbing out, and now with that new added belief, knowing how much more I can push it, and I will do it again. And this allows for high quality in terms of your fitness, but in your health, and the control of yourself. You know, you understand where to move, how much to push, how much you can get away with without sacrificing your season, sacrificing your health. Health and fitness, it should be fun. It should be for your lifetime. It shouldn't be just for glory years. And it took me basically my whole life to understand that. And I feel blessed and privileged to take part in the coMra therapy approach. And I am happy. I'm not happy that I injured myself in so many ways, but I'm also respectful to what I needed to go through so that I can learn these things. And I do hope that this will impact somebody else, for one, to take the opportunity of coMra therapy, and two, not to take the same steps in a lot of respects, and to stop and make those adjustments prior. So I feel like this is an opportunity for everybody to understand that fitness and health really should walk hand in hand. And we can do this throughout our entire life. And there's no reason why we can't have the physical fitness wherewithal. And that being said, I thank you everybody for being here, and I welcome any questions so that we can go further into this.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Excellent presentation. I want to go put my gym shorts on now, but I'll wait till the webinar is over. I just wanted to say one comment. You know, when we looked at the slides of the runner, you know, in the cast, and when can I get back to, I actually don't see that any different with any people getting an illness. It's not about, uh-oh, I hurt my body. It's about, uh-oh, I can't do the things I want to do.
Sure.
So it seems to be across the board, but I really did enjoy those caricatures. So I'm going to go to the chat now. I'm going to start at the top. Let's have a look here. And Alexander, this is, let's see, well, we can both cover this one. Stress program 3, how does it differ from universal 5 or 7 treatments? Edwin, you'll notice that it's shaved down because we're trying, like Alexander said, a lot of this he does ad hoc. Alexander, actually, you talk about that, please, if you don't mind.
Well, yeah, I do a lot of this ad hoc, but I also feel it gives people the opportunity to start. And I kind of like this because since this is the sports men and women use a guide for athletes, sporting men and women, there's a disconnect, and we're trying to give them the opportunity to see how coMra therapy works. I work with a lot of athletes to this day, and I work with high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts, and I do have a very specific fitness routine for them, where I bring them up. These are high-level athletes who, in a lot of respects, can do amazing things, but then all of a sudden, boom, something breaks. So a lot of these athletes haven't really, they don't have the right now, they're struggling to understand how coMra therapy can assist them. So if we provide them something a little bit more simple, something more concise that they can apply, get a result, and be like, okay, and then guide them through, say, now apply it. You can apply it in this way, or if you're feeling more tired, you can give them a bit more time, or they can add some more points. So it's trying to make this connection that you're a high level athlete, your physical fitness is high level, but at the same time, we have this device here that can assist you, and we want to put it together so that they can understand and they can start utilizing it and build themselves up and not deal with the same kind of issues that they're dealing with.
Edwin, does that clarify for you?
Well, to some extent, I was thinking in terms of fitness, not for the high level athletes, but, you know, the regular gym people who have, who are heavily stressed and some burnouts, like chief executives, and see if this will help them to comply more with fitness programs in the gym. One thing I do realize, of course, is that, you know, the time is shorter when you use the coMra. I mean, when you use the Alexander program, shall I say, it's a shorter time, but in terms of, you know, the difference, what really, could you just go ahead and use the normal protocol for the, that you have in the user guide? Or could you also, is there any real, you know, any real preference?
Well,
if you were to choose that, that's, I guess that's the point I'm trying to get.
Yeah, I would say from my experience, athletes recover a lot quicker than most people. It's just because they've set up the body in a way where their metabolic recovery is at a much higher level. So an athlete, for the most part, if they're not in a heavy workload, they're gonna heal quicker from whatever it is. So if you take somebody who is not very athletically adept, they haven't been training, their fitness is very low, they pull a muscle, it's gonna take a lot longer for them to heal, coMra or not. So if you have an athlete who is of a very high level, their fitness is we'll say optimized, and they pull a muscle, they heal a lot quicker because they have the metabolic adaptations. They've laid down the capillary beds throughout their body so that everything is flowing a lot quicker. So in a lot of respects, the higher level athletes, obviously there's the point of they have to slow down a little bit and take some time off, they'll heal quicker. So they won't need as much unless their workload is high, then they might need a little bit more, but that all depends on the individual. So athletes they will heal quicker. Athlete will go through a lot of these things quick because they're in a position of a high level of fitness.
And just to add to that too, so Edwin, let's say you have average gym aficionado, you know, someone who just goes to the gym for leisure and stuff, you could kind of judge, say, well, you know, you can start with this shorter treatment and then work up. Or if it's someone who needs, you know, more work, let's say to increase their health, then you could give them the Unity 5 and the user guide. But why we put the sports one out is to just focus it in on for people, because people won't necessarily connect the universal treatments to fitness. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Alexander.
Thank you. Thank you, Edwin.
You're on mute.
Thank you, Ever.
I wasn't muted. I said it loud. You could hear me in the next room, but
Yeah. So can we get a copy from Claire? Can we get a copy of the program? So like I said, we're going to check the coMra Life platform. And then Claire, I'm just going to read what you wrote here, and then maybe it'll follow on whatever we need. Having been involved in sports, dance, tennis, golf, and working out in the gym 3 times a week for over 40 years, well done to you. I've had multiple injuries and also 3 major car accidents. Wow. I've come to the conclusion years ago that life is a series of recovering from injuries, etc. I also have multiple chemical sensitivities and am sensitive to almost everything, so I've been doing holistic health for all my life. The coMra has been tremendous in helping me. Also, naturopath, chiropractic, and microfrequency treatments have been tremendous help. Looking forward to using these new programs. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that, Claire. I didn't know if you had a question at the end. I just wanted to read what you'd said so everybody could benefit. Yeah, well done to you, and that you've taken your health into your own hands. This is, yeah, tremendous. So we've gone through the chat, and
I have a
anybody,
question.
yes, thank you, Avril. I'm gonna mute myself.
Alexander, at the beginning, we were looking at the picture of you and Kanoa, and you were sharing about, because some people might have missed it. You were talking about how he was starting to train now. So I was just interested, as I was listening to you and your experiences in your youth, and now Kanoa's there training, and he does have the coMra with him now. So I'm just interested if you can share anything. I'm assuming that you're getting him to use the coMra. Is he going to that himself as well and wanting to use it? And are you noticing, like, what do you notice different with his experience versus your experience where he's got the coMra there with him in his youth?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be amazing for him, and he has many advantages in that respect. Kanoa and Caden, they share palm, so they use it whenever they need it. I think it was Kanoa's only challenging, we would call it injury, but it's hard to call it an injury. It's just, he had an ailment, so to speak, after a day at track, and it was a hip ailment, and he treated it once with the coMra palm, and he was back on track the next week without any issues. Actually, it was that night he was walking a little funny. He treated it, and he was able the next day, like it didn't even happen. We're not sure what occurred, what was going on with his hip joint, but he's able to advance much quicker. So systemically speaking, Kanoa doesn't really do any treatments. We kind of, he has so many advantages. He eats healthy, he sleeps well, but whenever something comes up like that, yeah, he can handle it very quickly, and he doesn't have to keep pushing past the pain, because the pain just completely goes away and he goes back into his training program very easily. So it's going to be an advantage, no doubt, and especially since I understand more or less how to, you would say rein them in a little bit, because when you get that goal in mind and you have that stubbornness of a runner, you're going to straight push past through. So having that in mind as well, between that learning to rein yourself in and applying coMra therapy judiciously at the time, it's an amazing advantage. I'm really looking forward to the future, and I'm very happy that I was called forth to share what I was able to share here. And there's so much more involved. I was just trying to make it very concise, because there are so many different people who want to apply themselves. There's a layperson who needs a fitness routine for their health. There's a professional athlete who's pushing themselves to the highest level. And then there's the amateur who just wants to enjoy a little bit of both, So there's just so much more going to happen now that coMra therapy is able to provide athletes and people in general a new way forward, so that they can be sustainable all throughout their life. And they could do the things that they want to do. They can be an older person, lift up a box and not throw that back out, reach up to the cupboard, and they have the strength for it. I mean, the possibilities are endless here. And I'm really happy that my sons are going to take they are you would say pioneers in this respect.
And are you kind of coaching them then as well? Are you their coach? Because I think it's important for the coaches too, because the coaches push people past like through their injuries. Even if they're injured, they get pushed and pushed.
Yeah, well, not directly. I just guide them. I'll share a few things, and normally I train with them. You know, I'm in a position where I can still train with them and be very competitive in that respect, especially my eldest. So I mostly just guide them through the health aspects of things, where to make adjustments. I prefer they get coached by someone else because it's just the father-son type relationship. But coaches now are starting to wisen up. We went through a period in fitness where it was all about Rocky Balboa. It was all about bang, 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 no matter what. And now we're in a position, a lot of coaches starting to understand the macro cycles, where let's say for an Olympic athlete, you have a 4-year cycle. You want them to peak at 4 years on this date, and they work back to the present day. And everything is worked back, and they make adjustments. Then you have your microcycles. So there's a lot more of intelligence coming into sports. It's not so much about bang, 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 bang anymore. It's about, let's understand how to make these adjustments when needed, so the athlete has the time to recover, get stronger, and then push again without getting injured. Because athletes walk on a razor's edge, especially track and field runners, because it's an individual sport, and you have to be at a very high level because it's extremely competitive.
I would like to just expand on what Alexander said, and he covered the 2 points of why we're doing the sports user guide to Edwin, but this is what you asked, Avri, with the 3rd point in terms of the future of medicine is the preventive medicine, so how to stay healthy really. And we want to reach also to young people, so they to learn to maintain their health together with their fitness, as Alexander said. So this is also a point to consider. Thank you.
Alexander, I've got a question, please. I see we're getting ourselves a new Alexander technique here. Thank you for your presentation. I totally relate to those caricatures you have of people injured and wanting to get back on the road. I was an ultra distance runner. My dream was to run the Boston Marathon, which was what, 42 Ks for us, 26 miles, I think. And I ended up instead running 90-kilometer marathons, 54 miles or whatever it is. And fortunately, at some point in time, one of my running partners was a yoga teacher, and she made us stretch before and after training. And that saved a lot of injuries. But I think if I'd had coMra back then, I probably would have just used it to get back onto the road as soon as I possibly could, and never really sort of listened to my body. But then one day I got introduced to something called hot yoga, and I was amazed at how I could get the same sort of cardio effect on a mat that I could running many kilometers outdoors. And but I saw what other people could do with their bodies that I couldn't. It was quite impactful on me. And so I started doing this hot yoga. But what I've discovered, and my question is more around about cartilage regeneration. I'm thinking that's what it is. I don't have any pain in my knees, and it doesn't affect me in any way whatsoever. But I find when I'm going into sort of deep squat type poses, there's a bit of a clicking happening. I'm sure there's probably just general wear and tear. But with all that pounding on the pavements or whatever, I'm sure it's had some impact. I do uni 3 and 5 mornings and evenings, but I just wondered if there was any sort of direct protocols or anything you could recommend if there is an opportunity to somehow regenerate that cartilage, if it is cartilage. Please, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Elizabeth, for the question. It's funny, I was speaking with Anik around the same thing. He was talking to me about like his knee popping out of place when we had a Skype call the other day. And it's very straightforward in that respect. It's generally speaking, the musculature is not containing the joint complex as well as it should. So even if you're in a deep squat position where you're starting to feel that movement inside, there are ways to build the musculature around the knee joint. And the fitness routine I do here at Gym Inclusive in Miami addresses that. This is why I prefer to work with the elderly population, as well as those who have never trained at all in their life. It's because they don't realize that if you could just do a targeted targeted routines. Let's use the leg press machine, not leg extension or leg curls or even Calvaries. Just the leg press routine where there's rotation around the hip joint, the knee joint, and the ankle joints. You build the musculature in the right way. But since you did yoga, my background is Tai Chi. So I've learned to biomechanically make adjustments there. So I can just feel my joint and I'll align it. So through a leg press machine, you could do that if you had access to one, and where it would be slow in the concentric and the eccentric phase, which is the positive and the negative. You would just take it very slow. And the goal would be to do it into concentric failure, but in good form, not where you're like squirming around in the seat. You do it to good form and you reduce and you just bring the stack back, which is the weight stack, and then you rest, let's say 6-7 days, and then you do it again. And you constantly adjust, you increase the weight and your what we call time under load, and you can count by repetitions. And I'm very confident, knowing your background and knowing you do have coMra therapy, that'll resolve that. Same thing with if your knee's popping out of place, most likely the musculature is not containing the joint complex like it should. And there's something there that is not as strong as it should. So if you develop the musculature in that way through a proper incremental weight training program, not with throwing the weights around, with control, with awareness, where when you're doing the leg press, you're aware of your biomechanics. You can feel your knee joints extend out in a healthy way to a point of extension where you don't lock the knee joints, just a good extension, and then you bring it back and you stimulate the muscle growth there. You're going to reach a point where it's going to burn. You know, this is sport, this is fitness. If there's a burn, and you're going to reach a point where you're going to have to go past the burn a little bit, and you will especially feel it in the quadricep muscles, but that's okay. You just focus on the biomechanics through the motion. And you can almost make weight training therapeutic. Not almost, it is therapeutic when understood under this fashion. And that will, I'm very confident, will add an additional benefit to your hot yoga practice, for sure, for sure. And most people don't realize it. This is why I say I like to work with the elderly population, because they think they're supposed to atrophy, and that's just the way life is supposed to go. The American dream is you have fun, you retire, you put your feet up, and all of a sudden it's boom. You know, it's like it doesn't have to be that way. There are ways forward through that. And it's just a simple leg press machine would do wonders for that, as long as it's done with consciousness, with awareness. You're paying attention, you're adjusting, you're making sure your knees don't flare out, nor do they cave in. And all that is done. And with your yoga experience, I know, I don't have a lot of experience with yoga, but I do believe both yoga, Tai Chi, and those kind of movements, even physical therapy movements under the guidance of a physical therapist, when done with awareness and consciousness, you can put your mind into your body. You really internalize what you want to feel. And you learn to experience that more and more at higher levels as you continue to practice that. So hopefully that answers your question. There's actually a good book along those lines.
Can you talk to home equipment? I travel, I don't have access to a gym, so
yeah. Well, that would be body squats. There's a way you would do it. So obviously, if you body squat and you stand all the way up, you take off the resistance. So it would be like low body squats, but obviously not too low where you want to feel the clicking, but low enough where you feel the burn, especially in the posterior chain of muscles, which would be the glutes and the hamstrings. So if you did that to a point of, it can't be failure unless you take a bench, because then if you do failure, you're going to just plop onto the ground, right? That's why a leg press machine works wonders, because when you hit concentric failure, you just lower the weight back. But if you're, doing body squats and you hit concentric failure, you may want to just plop to the ground, and that's not very safe. So you get a bench or something, a low bench behind you, so when you hit that concentric failure and you feel like you may not go up anymore and it's only down from there, you could just sit down on the bench, let your slow twitch muscle fibers recover within a minute or two, and then you can go about your day. So that would work, but the same concept would be the awareness. You would have to pay attention to your biomechanics. You have to pay attention, since it's your knee joint, you want to pay attention to them in a way where they feel they're moving in their proper range of motion. You're not flaring out your knees, nor are they caving in. So you could do that, and it's going to be the same concept. You're going to take it to a level of a burn. You're going to move beyond that, and as soon as you feel like you're going to break form to move, excuse me, you're done.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Recovery is important there, though. You need time to recover, get stronger, and then you apply yourself more. And the way you would track it would be through either through repetitions, or you can just hit a clock. So you say, you hit a stopwatch. Boom, I start. Stopwatch starts. You go. Each time you do it, your time under load or time under tension would increase. How you can track it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
And I'll just add, Claire, thank you for your comment. You can always turn your mic off and speak too. I'll read what you wrote in the chat. My knees have been tremendously helped from what Alexander is suggesting. I was told I needed both knees replaced. coMra, etc. has helped. Also using straps helped. And I was told no squats or lunges for knees, but the building muscle did the trick, as Alexander is explaining. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Great.
I would recommend no squats either.
Yeah, yes.
No squats or lunges either. Yeah.
Thank you, Claire. Anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you all very much for attending. Alexander, wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, your schedule, your week, everything you got going on. I know your plate's very full. Congratulations to you and Deanna.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon, everybody. Not sure when. We'll let you know, so stay tuned.
Am I too late for a question, please? This is Phyllis.
Okay, go ahead, Phyllis. Sure.
So, hello, Alexander. We met like 6 years ago when I was in Jersey. Now I'm in Florida. And I'm wondering, how far do you travel? I live in North Palm Beach, and it's a senior community. So, yeah, you sound very good for us.
Oh, yeah. Do you have a fitness facility there?
Yes, we do.
Okay, yeah, that's I would consider, but I also have a very good fitness facility here in Miami as well. If anybody wanted to travel down, I don't know if that would be something that would be you would be able to do, because there's certain machines that one could use that are better than others. The machines I decided to invest in are therapeutic grade, meaning the resistance curve changes on the machines, so it makes it a more complete and efficient and safe workout. So if that's something you have at your fitness facility, I could. And
so when I'm able to travel, I will come to you.
okay, yeah, and then
we're restricted in our travel.
Oh wow, okay, yes.
Well,
yeah, thank you.
I'll put you both in touch with each other after, and you can see if there's something can be worked out there.
Great, thank you, everyone.
Gareth, maybe we can put contact page once again, just for everyone.
Okay, I'll put it up. Yes, good idea, Maxine.
We'll put Alexander's contacts when we say send the recording.
So you can see at the bottom, Alexander's website, runholistic.com. And thank you for reminding me to do that, Maxime. And Alexander at runholistic.com. Lots of good articles on Alexander's website. So feel free to go there, read those, share them around. And if you want guidance, help, consultation, Alexander's there. Highly skilled gentleman. All right, everybody. Have yourselves a lovely, till next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye for now.
Thank you, Alexander.
Thank you, Alexander.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Alexander.
Thanks, Alexander.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Well done.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Alexander. Bye. Bye.
Bye.